you ever take drugs and go to church?
I've definitely not done that. Have you done that?
Yeah. It's look, it's a couple of times.
A couple of times?
Once with family. And on this side, both times on this side of the world, I would be too intimidated by God, by my Samoan church family to take drugs and go. I think just near them. I don't think I'd take drugs.
Yeah, man.
But on this side of the world, one time, me and my cousin, we were at. We were much younger, and we were doing Christmas in Budleigh, Salterton.
Okay.
With some family. I don't know if you know. Budleigh,
no
Salterton
idea.
is like this retirement village. It's a normal village, but it's only full of old English people on the south coast.
Right, okay.
Near Devon.
Right.
And we were there because that's where his dad lives. And we were like, man, let's just drop a cheeky pill and then we'll go to a church service. And we were about like one hymn into the church service, and we both looked at each other and just went, oh no, because you come up and then you feel real bad about the fact
you're in church,
and then you spend 40 minutes being paranoid, not that God, but that everyone else you can definitely tell that you two are peaking in church.
No one would ever suspect that in a church.
Yeah.
No one would ever go, fucking hell is wrong with those two jaw.
Oh, the communion tasted so good though.
Did you actually do that, man? Holy fuck. And you've done this multiple times.
No, not multiple. It makes it sound like it's all I do in the UK. I mean, look, it's Church of England. You got to spruce it up.
Oh yeah, boring as hell, man.
But no, and I've done it in Edinburgh. I went. I didn't even know anyone at the church. I can't remember, one comedian. I feel like the story originates with Jim Jeffries or someone from that generation. Right. Someone had done it already.
Right, okay.
And we were like, oh,
we're doing it as well.
We're the young generation. Let's do the thing. And it was in Fest. And we went to a church service on a Sunday morning, and we were just sitting there. And like, I can't even remember. It's probably like St. Andrews or something. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know the name.
One of them, yeah.
But I was quite high by the time I walked in. It was cold. That's what I remember, even though it was like July, August. And we were just like sweating so much. And then we left.
How far front in the front of the church were you?
At the back, both times.
I was going to say, if you're at the front, you are so much more freaking out.
No, I grew up in the church, and so I was almost like organizing it, going, yo, this is the last hymn. We can bounce on the last hymn.
Don't worry, I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I was like, what? Because after the last hymn, that's when the minister walks up to get to, you know how you see in movies, the minister standing outside, he's got to get there somehow. So
yeah.
Comes traveling up, so I'm like, you don't want to look.
We don't want to be there for that.
We don't want to shake hands and look him in the eye. All right?
The shame that we'd go with that
Oh
as
my
well,
God.
being like, fucking hell, man. That's wild.
Well, it's so funny because you go, oh man, they'll be probably we'll experience something spiritual and that, and you're like, no, I am sweaty and paranoid.
The reality of that is a different situation, man. So how many of you were doing this? It's just two of you.
It was me and my cousin when we did it down in Budleigh, Salterton, and then there was about 5 of us in Edinburgh, like all Kiwis and Aussies, which is why I think it originates with like Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries' legacy.
Like, yeah, man, you go and do that. Go do that, mate. Yeah. And we're all like, yeah, let's do it. And we're like, this is such a bad idea.
Was there a good contingent that come over for the Fringe that you kind of always hanging about with from like...
Yeah, there's been like Aussies and Kiwis have been coming over for about 20...
Yeah,
Aussies much more.
But but have you got a little group of you now that just all kind of hang out at the Fringe?
Oh, there's every generation has. So my generation who came over a bit, they're all married with kids.
Shit, right? They're not dropping pills in church, are they?
I mean, God, I don't know, man. They're in New Zealand, most of them. So like whatever gets you through, guys. You know, some of us travel to festivals, some of us just drop.
Yeah, you got to do it at home.
Yeah. Send the kids to Sunday school, drop a tab, see what happens.
Fucking hell, man.
But I know, like the generation after me, most I think the Kiwis and Aussies, you do it here in Scotland, don't you? You form your little clique.
Yeah, you've kind of got the groups. But see, when you start and you're like, I'm not going to be in the cliques. I don't want to be part of that. You kind of want to be talking to everyone, and then it happens so easily.
And then you're like, oh my God, I feel insane and I'm so alone.
Yeah.
I need someone to drop pills and go to church with.
Such a good story, man.
So I think it's a survival technique more than anything, isn't it, man?
Yeah, you just want people to just kind of go, like, as soon as you leave a gig and someone's mental, you just text them, be like,
yeah,
you'll never fucking guess what happened at this one. And they'll go like, I'm at this part of the country and this shit's happened, and it's everyone's just almost like there's got this shared experience of mentalness.
Yeah, and like it's not even you can talk to people in the arts, but unless it's people with specifically explicit experience of stand-up comedy, they can't know. And nor should they, because comedy horror stories are the most horrific.
Oh, they're the best. A lot of this podcast has been about this. Do you know Joe Heenan?
No.
Joe Heenan was on the podcast last week, and he just had about like 5-6 horror gig stories in a row, and I was like, oh my God, Joe, these are fucking incredible. You got any proper horror stories?
No, I never lose. No. No, yeah, man. You're not a comic till you've died. That's what I always say.
Oh my God.
Other shit that's ever come on the scene.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see you the gig after you've died on your ass.
Yes. This is it. Everyone wants that. No one wants to hear a story where you fucking smash a gig.
No.
All comedians want to hear, but when were you struggling with your own existence on stage?
Yeah. When did you have a genuine? I've got one which was in front of one of my cousins. I tell it on stage sometimes now because it's so ridiculous. There was a festival of peace in New Zealand.
Okay.
The historic festival of peace in the mountain,
Cool.
really picturesque New Zealand background, run by this old Maori fella, Te Ariki Hohaia, Te Ringa Hohaia, that was his name. And he was just like a weed smoking bro with a strong vibe, and he had a great spirit to him, great spirits of festival. So a whole bunch of us agreed to do it. I was very young and very new. And my cousins who were in this quite famous New Zealand band called Fat Freddy's Drop.
Yeah, we've talked about them on the podcast before. That other people that recommended them love them.
So my cousin Chris is the main DJ.
Cool.
Fat Freddy's, DJ Moo. And they had been on before I was going to go on. Now, I thought I'd agreed to go on at 11:15 in the morning. Which, that sounds bad, right? But when you're at a festival which is mainly bros smoking weed, good time. Still focused.
That's still early days.
Having their breakfast, got lots of energy, not too hazed.
Yeah.
Good for stand-up. It wasn't. It's 11:15 at night. And I wasn't doing a set per se. I was doing crowd fill time because the guys who were coming on after Fat Freddy's had this legendary roots band called Herbs.
Right.
We name shit simple in New Zealand.
Yeah, just keep it one word.
Yeah, North Island, South Island. What these guys do? They smoke herbs. All right, they're called
That's the band name.
But they played with Bob Marley when he toured. You know, they had
all right, cool.
big,
Serious guys then.
Yeah, protest band, and they're doing their comeback gig, but they're all like old bros, so they take forever to warm up.
Right.
And I'm on stage 11:15 outdoors in New Zealand. I've got a decent club 20 at that point, which the difference between club sets and outdoor festival sets.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a big different ball game right there.
So I've got them though. I've got energy. I'm excited. We're all excited. I play on that. I've got them for about 10 minutes.
Oh.
Unfortunately, I'm on much longer than 10 minutes. I lose them at the 20-minute mark. At 25, I die. I'm dead. I'm absolutely dead. I look to the side of the stage, and these wonderful old Maori musicians are going, "Oh, ka pai, brother, keep going, almost there." So I'm like, "Okay, guys," and and the audience kind of senses now that I'm out of my depth.
Yeah,
and a bit
and
of
that you're
sympathy.
filling time.
Yeah, so I get them back, and insanely, I get goodwill. I get them back at the half-hour mark. I'm like, all right, we're almost there. At 40 minutes, I find a new level to die. You ever die twice in a gig? And I got him back, and I went, well, I can't hit rock bottom. Oh, rookie mistake.
You fucking can.
Rookie mistake.
Dying twice in the one gig.
Twice in one gig. I got him back, and then I died. A new level of hell opened up, and I just went back into that. At 45 minutes, I get the nod. They're ready to come on stage. Like an idiot, I don't straight introduce them. I try to go, hey guys, they're ready to get on stage. Why don't we all sing a song, like one of the to welcome them on? And what I get back at midnight at a festival of peace is about 7,000 people singing na 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 na, hey hey now, goodbye. At a festival of peace.
There was that many. So there was 7,000 people watching this roller coaster of.
Yeah.
In my head, you were like performing at a small comedy tent.
No.
You're on the main
I'm
stage.
on the main stage. That like
7,000 people,
and it's
James.
so funny. I come off stage and my cousin, he's like not making eye contact.
Oh, you wouldn't.
And it's like, man, if we were going home tonight, we'd offer you a lift, man. I was like, that's all right, bro.
You're on your own now. Yeah.
And the only thing that saved it, well, two things saved it for me. No, it's comedy. Three things saved it for me.
Yeah.
First is I got a decent 5 minutes of stand-up out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because like any comic, next gig I did, I told that story.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And then the second thing is the guy who organized it, Tim Ringer, he just came up to me straight away with the fattest joint I've ever seen. And it was just
and you were like, yes, please.
he was cool about it as well, because he's like, you don't want to remember that, bro. You don't want to. And then I don't remember much of the rest of the night, but I ended up smoking with Herbs, which is a beautiful thing, and drinking with them. And they signed a couple of posters for, not
That's
for me,
cool.
but I have a couple of friends who are hardcore reggae.
Yeah.
Like, social workers who love roots music. And so I got them to sign a couple posters for them.
That's a fucking big win.
And yeah, so that's, every comic has you've got to salvage it somehow.
Oh my God, a double death.
But
in front of 7,000.
I've got a bit of a profile in New Zealand.
You're quite famous over there, man.
I've got some game, right? And I still get people coming up to me going, bro, did you die on stage at the Parihaka Festival of Peace about a decade ago? I was like, yeah, man. It's like, that was rough, man.
Oh, God. It's
10
that
years.
famous. The fill in the crowd time is not good, though, man. That's a bad sign when it's just like, just keep going, just keep going.
Do you know, it's funny. The number one thing I always ask any corporate, and I reckon it comes from that, I always go, just give me the parameters, man. I will do what you want.
But I need some parameters.
I need the parameters.
Yeah, I need to know how long am I on for, and is it definitely that a lot of the time?
I do remember the fear. There's very few times you feel proper fear on stage. I do remember when that second death, when I was in it, and you learn so much from dying, especially when you're new. You learn so much. But I remember looking at them and going, fuck, man, I might be on here for an hour.
You could have a third death that's on the horizon.
You do start to think this could actually end. This is it. This is how it ends. This is like, no one will book me. No one will see.
Yeah, you would start thinking that.
Thankfully, it was before Android phones, really.
Yes.
Because
Right.
that was on film.
Someone's got that, man. That out somewhere out there.
Somewhere,
but I tell you what, you could never watch that back.
It's New Zealand, though, so it's probably on VHS.
Right. And see when you're looking out into the crowd, is it? Are they well lit? Can you see these 7,000 pretty clear?
Oh, I can see like the first few hundred, like the first few rows. And I tried audience interaction, and I just like, but I was too new. I didn't have, all I had was late night insult comedy audience interaction, which they
Peace Festival?
Yeah, the Peace Festival.
Pedo, man.
Yeah, I'm making jokes about Fat Freddy's, going, no, they don't know we play the same music. And everyone's like, we love Fat Freddy's. They entertained us for an hour. Who the fuck
Yeah,
you?
what are you doing to get that na goodbye is...
Oh, man.
And you just walked off stage and were just like, fair enough.
Oh, I walked off stage just going, that's a new low.
Yeah. Fuck, man. That's up there with one of the worst double death stories. Well, it's the only double death story I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's man. I tell you what, for about a month and a half, 2 months afterwards, I felt bulletproof on stage.
Oh yeah, it can't get any worse.
Yeah, I literally
get any
was like,
worse.
"Yeah, say what you like. It's not. There's only 50 of you in this room. It's fine."
Have you done other festivals since?
Yeah, I have actually. And
You've done Glastonbury, haven't you?
yeah, but I did it as a poet.
As a poet?
As a poet. It's the tiniest way to sneak into Glastonbury. A friend of mine had a poetry show, and they needed like 4 poets to perform it. And I've done a little bit of poetry. And my partner at the time was an actor, so they got us into it. And suddenly I was doing 11:30 in the morning.
Oh, in the morning. This time.
Yeah, never
11:30 on the poetry
again.
stage.
And I'll be like, this is a trap. You've heard the rumors. Fat Freddy's are playing before a gig, aren't they?
Where's Herbs? Show me where Herbs are.
Yeah. No, man, so I did all three mornings. I performed like breakfast, but because I was doing poetry, bro, I got the poetry tent.
Yeah.
With the poetry tent toilets and showers.
That's nice.
Which are not as scummy as the comedy or the music ones.
Yeah.
So I got to say I gigged at Glastonbury, and I had a decent. But I gigged in Brexit weekend.
Shit, I was there that one.
Were you?
I was there, but just obviously just like at a festival, as a festival going, man. I was there.
And then Billy Bragg played.
Yes.
And it was like church.
Yeah, man. I didn't go to see him. We were there, but we woke up in the tent in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
Yeah,
it was
it
just
was
one
nuts,
of
right?
the surreal
It was
experiences.
so
It was like,
nuts.
we've left the EU.
Yeah.
And it was just, we all just sat around the tent like, what the fuck? But we were all still so fucked. We didn't really know what that meant. So that's pretty cool. So you just get to do poetry for 3 months and then you just get Glastonbury for the week.
Yeah. It was just really cool. And I got to see my favorite band, which is Frightened Rabbit.
Scottish band.
Scottish
Lovely.
band, yeah.
Yeah, cool, man.
And I hadn't seen them live since I first saw them in London. And that would end up being the last time I would see them.
Yeah, that's such a shame, man.
Yeah.
Fuck. What a way to see them, though.
Yeah. And this is a great thing. God rest his soul. Old Scott and the boys had forgotten that they played the main stage and then they'd agreed to do a second gig in one of the tents.
Right.
And they'd forgotten about that after their main stage gig. So they went and got drunk. So I got a proper drunken Frightened Rabbit.
Oh my God,
set.
man.
It was so good.
What tent were they in?
I can't remember what the name of the tent.
Just one of the smaller ones?
It was
or-
one of the smaller ones though. So there was only like maybe 200 of us.
That's cool.
And everyone was like looking around going, oh man, there's so much space in here. And they just played like a few hits and then that whole new album, that last album they put
Yeah.
out. Because they were touring that. And I was just like, this
Oh
is
my God, man.
awesome.
That's so cool. It's such a mental place. And like you go to other music festivals, and the ones in Scotland, they're just like money grabbing.
Yeah.
You're having a good time. But at that one, it's kind of it's just all about having a good time. It's not like trying to like rip you off or anything like that. And it's just everyone's in a good place.
Well, one time I didn't do Reading Festival. Is it Reading? What's the other one? Leeds?
Reading and Leeds, yeah.
I didn't do Leeds, but my mate was doing Leeds in the comedy tent, and I'd just broken up with a partner. So he said, "Man, come down to Leeds. We'll both crash out in my car." And then we took way too many drugs after he'd done his set, and we were backstage like in the artist area, and like Biffy Clyro over here. Rage Against the Machine had just reformed, so that's why he was like, "Bro, you've broken up with your missus. You're in a bad place. Come watch some Rage." Queens of Stone Age were performing, I think, as well. It was a like killer area, and then these like young groupies, I guess, came up. I'm like, you guys in a band. And God bless my mate. He was just like,
yes, we are in a band.
He wasn't going to go, actually, I'm a stand-up comic and this is my friend who's not even performing. He's like, yes, we are.
We're in a band.
And that band is called, and he looked at me and I went, the Felle.
The what?
Now you might be going, what is Felle? Felle is a Samoan word because I panicked and I went into my panic language.
And they won't know what that is.
It's also my dad's name. And it also translates to Fred. So my mate who knows all this is trying to keep a straight face because I've just said to these two beautiful young women, we're in a band called the Fred Freds.
The Fred Freds, yeah.
It does sound like a Scottish punk band from the early 1990s, I think we'd say.
The old Fred Freds, man, on the
From
main
Aberdeen.
stage. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, that's so good. And did they question it?
No, they sat down. We decided that, and we're like improving this shit on the spot. He's lead singer and guitar. He's more charismatic than me anyway. I'm rhythm, which means I don't have to talk as much.
Yeah.
Because he's worried I'm just going to go, I've just broken up with my missus. Like, kill the whole vibe.
You're like, shut the fuck up.
He ends up, I still don't quite, I don't remember much of it, but the girls are both into going back to their tent with me.
Right.
And so we do. And I would love to tell you that I had a rock and roll experience, but that's not what happens with comedians, is it?
No, it never is.
We want to be rock stars so bad, don't we?
Yeah,
bro?
yeah. Comedians want to be rock stars, and rock stars want to be comedians.
Yeah, and rock stars are better at being comedians than comedians are at being rock star.
100%.
So I go back with these two quite beautiful, so my memory tells me, young women to their tent. And then I have a small anxiety attack. Which I don't let on. So, hey man, I'm just gonna
duck out for a few minutes.
Duck out for a couple of minutes, take a romantic drunken piss. Apparently, walked up to the taxi stand, pissed on the guy's taxi, then went back to my mate's car, knocked on his window, and then slept in his car with him while having a wee cry, missing my ex. So rock and roll,
Rock and roll, baby. And they're just in the tent like, he'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, they're still going, man, that New Zealand musician from the Freds. Again, thank God, Android phones.
Yeah, I was going
didn't
to say, will we just quickly look them up?
Yeah.
It's weird they're not on Spotify.
Yeah. Every time, I don't know if it happens to you, every time I try and be rock and roll, or every time I've tried in the past, be rock and roll, it's always, anytime I've tried to be cool or try to be the man, it's always just backfired spectacularly.
Have you, do you just try do it quite a lot, or are you doing this quite a lot?
When I was younger, when I was in my like early 20s.
Trying to be like, I'm the fucking man.
Yeah, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. So what age did you start comedy?
I started like at 20.
Oh, right, okay. So
in New
kinda,
Zealand though.
Right, okay.
So,
so you've kind of almost kind of got that I'm a fucking comedian mentality from like 20 years on.
Although it was really funny because in New Zealand, we didn't have an industry. Concords hadn't dropped yet.
Right, okay.
Like the first headliners at the gig I did were Concords. So they were on the up, but they weren't Concords.
They weren't HBO Concords
They were big in Wellington.
Yeah.
Fuck. And so you didn't, whenever you said you were a comedian in New Zealand in the early 2000s, they go, oh yeah, what's your other job?
Yeah.
Like, it's a fun hobby you've got, but what's your other job?
Yeah.
So, and we're making people laugh in these bars and we're traveling around and we're trying to be like the man. And there you go. I'm just some scrawny
20-year-old,
20-year-old Pacific kid from New Zealand who grew up in the church, doesn't know shit. What am I doing?
That's cool though, man. Especially if is there much competition at the time? Is there a lot of people trying to be comedians?
There's a few. We're sort of like the generation before us kind of laid the foundations for the industry, and now there's an industry, and my generation kind of built that industry.
Cool. So now there's a proper thriving circuit.
Yeah. It's a much more toxic back then.
Right.
But like bad kind of cliques, and that I think it sounds really patronizing. I think the younger generations of comics coming through are better at not having that toxicity in the cliques.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool though, man. So at the time you're kind of doing gigs in Wellington.
In Wellington, and then we get in a car and we car share up to Auckland, which is about London to Edinburgh, and we go and do a couple of spots at the one comedy club that they have in the country, and then we try and organize little tours around real rough bars in rural New Zealand.
Man. Yeah.
We're performing to like gang members because we've accidentally booked ourselves into like a motorcycle like bar, but I mean and it's funny because I know Australian comics have a similar thing in that there just wasn't much of a touring industry at all.
Yeah.
So you do get a bit fearless when you come over here because yeah, watch out, man, it's a bit of a rough bar. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if someone's getting stabbed outside the gig.
I've seen some shit.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's relative.
Yeah. So you're just kind of going through all the wee rough towns.
Yeah.
And are the gigs, are they going well in the beginning? Or are they?
Yeah, because they've never really had.
I was going to say that. So when places are getting comedy new, it's quite a novelty, isn't it?
Yeah. And thank God, because we did not know what we were doing.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, and it's, I don't know if it's fond memories. I don't know. That's the way to think.
But it is, I suppose, it is when actually a formative years in stand-up.
Yeah.
Learning how to fail.
Yeah, and failing. And you look back at some of you get a little flashback of memories to some of the material. Actually, I was last Christmas, I was at my old lady's place in New Zealand, and I found one of my old notebooks.
Oh God!
And I was like, "Is this what are these jokes?
Yeah.
What is the foundation?"
I think old notebooks should be burnt.
Should be, man.
They should be burnt.
It's like, maybe do you ever get the ego thing? Maybe there's something in here that I'll rework into some priceless. Like, nah, that's not.
You look at it and you go, I can't believe I wrote that down.
Yeah, it's like,
fucking hell.
This needs to stay.
Yeah. Well, can we get a fire going right now because this is awful?
Yeah.
Shit, man. That's cool.
Yeah, because how long have you been going, man?
But coming 7, almost 8 years now.
Yeah.
I was a late starter.
That's good.
I was like 29, 30, I think, when I started.
I think that's a better age to start, honestly.
I kind of do think that because I did kind of get all my the like going on holidays, got that out of the way. Like spent my 20s just going to enjoy myself as much as possible. And you kind of get into your 30s, you know what it's like. You
And
kind of
you've
don't have
lived.
much of a social life. Yeah.
And you're not having to grow up on stage. No, and don't get me wrong. I love some of the, like, you know, without being patronizing, child prodigies in the industry. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like a sharp young comic. You go, man, that's fun. That's
Yeah.
electric. That's you know, energizing to watch.
Yeah.
But like my 20s were a whole bunch of life lessons coming at me fast.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to be a bit more stable in my life than to be a touring comic.
Yeah. So were you just touring like as quickly as possible?
I got shoulder tapped when I was in my early 20s by someone who was booking for jonglers.
Oh, cool.
And so I came over to the UK and I lived in London for a few years
nice.
with my partner. And that relationship did not last. My 20s was burning for a lot of relationships.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Classic 20 stuff. That's what they're for.
Except for
That's what they're
comedy.
for. Yeah.
You know, if it was a film, the audience might be going, I think comedy might be the toxic part of this.
Yeah.
This guy's life would seem to be quite stable if he didn't do the thing. It's a tragedy we watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think starting when you're 29, 30 and you've actually like got some life experience.
Yeah, it helped in some ways, but then just, I think you're probably a bit more fearless. You probably take a lot more risks in the early days.
Yeah.
And it's also then you probably, by the time you're 30, you've probably established yourself and you're a bit more, like, you've kind of learned a lot of it. So you can probably then try and make it a career of it. Whereas I'm like, trying like 7 years in, like trying to make that the full-time job. And it's just like, it's fucking tough, man.
I think the hard thing is when you're, like for the younger guys coming up now, is that comedy is sort of morphed towards being, you know, we came up in the time of Jon Stewart defining that landscape for comedians as comedian and political commentator.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at old Eddie Izzard's stuff, you know, he's when he's talking about planting the flag and that's just starting.
Yeah.
It's great. And that's, don't get me wrong, there's great political comedians from back then as well, but it wasn't in I think the audience mindset that comedians would be social commentators as well.
Yeah, because I mean, Jon Stewart probably could have like run for president and probably still could and do a very good job in America. He's just so switched on, and knows his stuff inside out. And
that's the thing, man, is that like, but to do that, Jon Stewart doesn't pop. Like he's popping on stand up when he's a young comic. Yeah, but he's not like popping as the Jon Stewart that everyone knows now till he's older, and you know. And that's the thing, when you're back when I started, you didn't have to stand on your opinion so much. You could say some wild shit on stage, and people will go, "Oh, well, you're young, you have no life experience," and that was correct. You might not be wanting to admit it to yourself, but you're actually an idiot. Yeah, well put. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You haven't been anywhere. Yeah. Some fucking kid, some church kid from Wellington, New Zealand. What the fuck are you talking about the war in Iraq for?
Were you doing that on stage?
Yeah, I'm trying to do bush material. I'm trying to do, know, because I'm passionate about world events, but I haven't traveled the world. So what the fuck am I talking about? So and whereas these days, if you try and stand on an opinion you don't really know, you get found out quickly. Yeah, and you're out there, and it stays out there, and I think that's a lot of pressure. It filters a bit, but I think it's a lot of pressure. Because
you do a bit like kind of political commentary on stage now. So is there a point where you kind of go, "Fuck, do I want to put my neck on the line for this part, or am I sure what I'm going for here?" Is it tough to do?
Yeah, I think you just get a bit wiser, but also like, and I'm not that old, man. I've just started my 40s, but you learn to keep your powder dry. Like you learn when to swing and what to swing at. Mm-hmm. Like I've tried to do I've understood that my lanes, especially in this part of the world, are Pacifica, maybe mental health. Yeah, I can talk about a couple of things. Rugby, because I'm from New Zealand. Rugby, Lord of the Rings. Get it in there. Reese Darby, like just anything.
Reese Darby, everyone's go-to Kiwi things.
I'm a robot. I love you, Reese. Thank you for those free tickets to Glasgow. But I think when you're starting out and you're trying to find that voice, you don't understand the job either. Yeah. Like my political stuff now, when I'm talking about, I research. You know, I treat it like it's a school project, right?
Yeah.
When I'm crafting a joke, because I want to find the funny, but I also want to make sure
You
that
want to make the point.
But if I am making a point, if I'm choosing to take the risk of making that point, I want to be able to back it up. Because what if there's someone there who can heckle me
Yeah.
and go, well, actually, what about this?
Yeah. You want to, that's got to be bulletproof. You've kind of got to know your shit inside out.
Or at least be able to like wing it to the audience.
Yeah.
Are there any other Samoans here? Yep. Oh, shit.
I'll move on quickly.
Actually, I'm tonguing. Shut up.
You did that. You were telling me like when we first met about your podcast. It was the eating fried chicken one.
Yeah.
Is that a mental health podcast?
That's a mental health podcast.
What was it about, man? I remember you
That
telling
came
me.
from so that came from a mental health breakdown.
Really?
So and I've talked about this a lot, so I hope it's but
No.
trigger warning for listeners. And so I come from my second suicide attempt,
Right. Oh shit, man.
which had been in London
Right.
on the way back to New Zealand.
Fuck.
And my mate had lunch with me the day after I'd got back. So my family knew what had happened.
Right.
But I was like, just kind of, they were keeping an eye on me. So my mate came and took me out for lunch. He took one look at me and said, don't stay with your family. It's going to make you feel even guiltier about things that are going to come stay with me.
Uh-huh.
So I stayed on his couch for like 2 weeks.
Right.
And we played Halo on Xbox.
Love Halo.
Went for a daily run down to the beach, and we just ate comfort food. And at one point, I went and had a very long shower, and I took the KFC popcorn chicken with me to the shower, had a little cry, ate some chicken, felt really good afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was telling, I did a radio interview when I really shouldn't have, and I mentioned that stuff on stage and on air, and they, a few things followed on, and a mate of mine who's a producer got involved, and suddenly we're making a mental health podcast where we eat fried chicken in the shower.
In the shower, yeah.
Because Radio New Zealand was keen to make it, but they're like, oh, does it have to be chicken? Now, the thing is, if you want a comedian to do something, don't ask them. Just tell them.
Yeah.
As soon as you asked us if there has to be chicken, yes, there does. And you are paying for it.
We don't have the chicken budget for this. Yeah.
Does it have to be in a shower? Yes,
Yes,
it
it
does.
does.
And you are paying for it. It turns out sourcing a shower that's good for sound recording.
I was going to say, man, that's an insane
it's a
scenario.
fucking
What an
nightmare.
environment to record a podcast in.
Yeah. Showers are not renowned for being great studio. So we started off using like the Auckland Theatre Company's shower backstage.
Right.
Then the next season, they were busy. So we used the Civic Theatre, which is the massive theatre. And then the All Blacks, somehow we ended up, I think we interviewed someone, maybe interviewed an All Black. I don't know quite how this happened, but we ended up using the All Black shower for the rest of the seasons. Like at Eden Park.
Really?
In like, because they're huge.
Yeah.
As are the All Blacks.
Yeah, big showers. Yeah.
So there was space, and it was real funny because we'd invite guests onto the podcast, and then they'd have to come down to Eden Park and be escorted into the changing room, and they're looking around, and then
cool.
we sit in the shower and eat fried chicken and talk about mental health issues.
What kind of guests were you getting on? So you're just getting all kind of like
Oh man,
sports stars?
No, we real varied. That because I fought hard for that.
Right.
It's like we started off with like news presenters, but we had a couple of former politicians.
Right.
And like one of them who was a new former who had run as a candidate, and one who had been actually quite influential. She was the first lesbian MP in New Zealand back in the 80s, and she triggered a by-election because she refused. She was nuclear free.
Okay, cool.
She was anti-nuclear.
Yeah.
And so she triggered a kind of a downfall of a government there, and really smart. She's like one of the feminist economics was her specialty, particularly looking at the GDP and how that's not an effective use of measure. Yeah, I had to learn all this stuff. Bro,
that's a lot of research on a podcast.
I've got her book in front of me. I interviewed her the day after I won New Zealand's top comedy award. God. Everyone is like celebrating it, and me and the producer are in a corner with this,
with the book.
We've got the book, and we've got some fried chicken, and we're in the corner going, "Man, she's gonna kill us tomorrow morning." I think I got like 3 hours sleep, and then I'm like in a shower with this 70-year-old economist legend, talking about 1980s New Zealand politics.
And are you holding your own?
I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Unlike unlike this one, when I host and you're doing great, it does. My trick is I just don't talk. I'm like, oh, what about that?
Cool. Keep talking.
Yeah, tell me everything. But I had to read her book because I knew from a couple of mates that she was a real hard ass because she's an academic.
Yeah.
So I sped read that thing and I tried to remember a couple of not quotes, but events. And if she said something, I tried and tied it back into the book to get that street cred.
Yeah, I've read the book.
Yeah, and I sort of did, but I was manically 4 hours in the middle of the morning.
Yeah.
After I'd been at an award ceremony from me. But that's fun. I don't know about you, man. I like not being the smartest dude in the room.
Oh yeah, man. That's if you can have that, and then you can just get to pick their brain and just kind of go, tell me everything you know.
Yeah, and we did some really cool ones, man. We did so in Maori culture, it can actually be quite tapu, which is taboo.
Right. Okay.
To eat in a washing area, and a lot of cultures is like that. A lot of different cultures. You don't take food where you shit.
Yeah. So, don't eat where you shit.
Yeah. So we did a Maori mental health one in a cafe with about 6 people from different backgrounds to talk about what Maori mental health particularly means in New Zealand to its indigenous people. And I was there as the host, but I didn't lead the conversation. We had a couple of elders who led it. And then we did a Pacific version, a Talanoa, in the shower. But one of the guys I don't want to eat in the shower. I went, okay, bro. He said, can I just eat all the chicken now before we go in the shower? So we waited and he ate all the chicken. And then we just went in and had a great chat about Pacific mental health, particularly for young Pacific men. Because it turns out, it's quite normal to try and kill yourself if you're a young Pacific guy.
Is it? Fuck, man.
We got terrible stats, man. We got really bad. And so that resonated with people back home as well.
Right, okay. So it becomes just popular from day one.
Yeah, we kind of, and that was kind of the spirit of making it. I don't necessarily talking about my mental health issues off stage, but I found a podcast allows me to kind of have that middle ground.
Yeah.
And we found that by just opening up the concept of discussing it for me being a Pacific Islander and Pacific people being able to see that.
Yeah.
Me being a beige after several months in Scotland. But young, not white presenter in New Zealand talking about that stuff. It just normalizes it a little bit.
And do you think the shower environment just kind of relaxes people? Because it kind of goes, this is fucking so silly.
Yeah, it did. It makes it real irreverent.
Yeah.
And I think that helps people feel slightly more comfortable, which sounds weird.
Yeah, because if you put it in a big serious studio or something like that, it'd probably be you would feel a bit more tense.
Yeah, but
talking such a serious subject.
Actual shower. We've got actual chicken. This is a ridiculous thing. And the first few episodes, people were writing in, going, "I can't hear anything over the fucking chewing," because we were like, "Oh yeah,
oh my god, man!" Some people hate that.
Yeah,
some people that just sends people wild.
Yeah,
shit.
I've had it because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just "Oh, that sounds terrible."
Oh, people would freak out.
Yeah. Even some of my mates are just like, how did you get a podcast?
Yeah. Fuck. That's cool, man. So how did the podcast end then? What did you have an end date for it?
We didn't have an end date, but we found it was beginning to do our head in a bit.
Right,
you
okay.
can't do a mental health podcast if it's affecting your mental health.
Yes.
I think we would have done one more season, but we were on the edge of it and we sort of went, let's finish it while we still love it. Let's not be halfway through.
And then just want to quit,
Yeah. And we almost finished on a high too. So it was during the pandemic in New Zealand. And Jacinda Ardern had agreed to be our final guest. And
no way, man.
On the day that she was going to fly in, and man, we had, we'd prepped. And we'd actually had to make it a closed set because people were finding out. I'm like, oh, can I just bring my partner? Can I bring my... We're like, sorry, man, we can't. It's... and which I actually don't think she would have minded, but we want to try to respect the position as much as anything else.
Yeah.
And one of her staff got COVID.
Fuck.
And so she wasn't able to come in, and that was the only win because quite busy during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I was the New Zealand Prime Minister.
So, man, that would have been a killer episode to go out on.
Yeah, but it's kind of also it's cool to have the one that got away.
Yeah,
you know, I kind of like that.
That's very.
I'd love
cool,
to interview her now, actually.
Yeah,
like, about because her quitting was a bit of a shambles. And,
oh, really?
And yeah, it was just I think I don't want to speculate because she's got her own reasons for walking away from it.
Yeah,
but it hasn't helped. Hasn't helped back home.
Can you come back? So you mentioned like you got the big New Zealand Comedy Award.
Yeah.
The day before that the other interview.
Yeah.
How's that come about, man?
that was a crazy period because I was filming a TV show at the time as well. I was on religion. Man, this is how insane my 2019 was. I like in the same period of time, I'm making a television show in New Zealand, and it's on the minority, the small religions in New Zealand. But that are the comedy angle is they're massive religions everywhere else.
Yeah.
So we're talking New Zealand Judaism, you know, meeting the one rabbi at the one synagogue, you know.
Yeah.
We're doing Hinduism, we're doing Sikhism, we're doing Buddhism. There's a wonderful Maori version of Christianity called Ratana.
Okay.
Where they're like, we're the lost tribe of Jews.
Jesus,
Ended
didn't
up
know
in
that.
New Zealand. Like a lot of Pacific cultures have like, we're the lost tribe of Jews.
Are they?
It's a real phenomenon. If anyone wants to go and research that.
Brilliant.
It's a vibe. So the day I'm supposed to do start filming the Islam episode, the Christchurch massacre happens. The day. Like the morning when we're prepping to go and start filming in Auckland that afternoon, start getting phone calls like around lunchtime, check news. And it's just insane.
Yeah, man, that's fucking wild.
And so we end up doing and that's in March. So we end up postponing and filming in April and May, which is when New Zealand Comedy Festival is on. I'm also have scheduled to do my fried chicken show.
Yeah.
So I end up having to do all three at once.
Oh my God, James, I'm getting tired just hearing about this. Is a lot.
But it was so intense because you got to change brain.
Yeah.
Like I love stand up because you get up on stage and you can vibe with a live crew and we can just like, hey, let's talk, let's have fun, let's be stupid if we want to be stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to do this mental health podcast. All right, well, let's eat chicken and you might
serious.
take me to a dark place and that's okay as long as you feel safe. Oh, so you were only
different vibe again.
And then, okay, so how is your community recovering from the worst mass? Like, it's all in the same fucking day. Like,
Man, that's
5 o'clock
heavy.
in the morning, get up, do your own makeup in the car to the religious site, talk to the religious people very respectfully.
Yeah.
Go to
Sit in a shower.
Go to the all black shower. Keep the makeup on. Talk to someone about like their mental health issues.
Yeah.
Go home, have a quick sleep, put the pillowcase in the washing machine because you forgot to take the makeup off before you crashed. Have a shower and go and do a comedy show about my suicide attempts that led to the podcast.
James, what the fuck, man?
So it got to June, bro, and I was cooked.
Yeah.
I was so tired.
I would have been tired after that one day. It's 3 jobs in a day, man. Oh my God.
Well, that's why you do it though, man.
Yeah.
You get to have those little hustles.
So you kind of get all of that leads to the big comedy award.
Yeah, well, it's just
That's
like
like-
they don't all combine.
Yeah.
No one, I don't think any of them knew I was doing it. But yeah, that show during the New Zealand Comedy Festival won the big award there, which was very fun, but was just, it's always the thing. You want an award. I did want that award for a while when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got it, I was like, okay.
Yeah. I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
I've got a big interview tomorrow.
I've got to read a political biography tonight. I mean, I don't drink anymore, so thankfully that helped.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. That would be very cool.
It's a lot easier to do that shit when you're sober, bro.
Fuck. Man, that's a lot to go on. You kind of got a lot of fucking things going.
But that's like, I mean, that's why I always say to any young comics who are like, oh, do you miss drinking? Like, nah, man.
Nah.
I got my stories. Although it's funny, the more we've talked about it, the more I've held this cup of coffee
Yeah.
like a beer.
Like a pint. Just sinking it.
Yeah, just like
Would you hope to kind of try and get the big comedy award over here? Is it something you care about now?
I wouldn't have lived in Scotland if I wanted to.
That's very true. Yeah. They don't really look up to us today.
They don't. I mean, I hope to. I'd rather help start. Oh, not help start. That sounds condescending. I'd rather help be part of the revolution of Scottish comedy than win any.
You already are, man. You're already in it. You're already in here.
Yeah, man. That's because I've got so much love for Scott. This isn't blowing smoke up your ass, but like I said, I grew up small town, small country, far side of the world. I felt empowered by coming over to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and being able to be a version of myself, which I didn't feel I could be back in New Zealand.
Right. Okay.
And that's why I've always had a deep love and respect for the Scottish comedy community. Like I stand and, the clubs around here that book me and let me be me before New Zealand let me be me.
Yeah.
So that's why I always like, I'll fuck with Scottish comedy
Brilliant, man.
to the end of days, mate.
Love it. And then you kind of got plans to do anything more. So you were doing all those things back in like Wellington, London. Are you going to do more while you're over here?
Yeah, well, my wife and me are going to start a political comedy gig next year, just a monthly one.
Nice.
For people to come and try out political material. We figure as foreigners, we can like be safe hosts.
Yeah.
Just hands up going, hey, and just have a little space where people can come and work political material.
Cool.
And the audience knows that's there as well. And that's just like a little place to start. And then just see. I mean, this first year is really all about learning.
Yeah, definitely, man.
All about and trying to be respectful while trying to, be irreverent.
Oh yeah, man. You'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine, man.
I mean, I've watched Braveheart. I feel I've got
Just watch it again, man.
Yeah, right.
Take some notes again and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right, man. Thanks for coming in. There's just a few more things before we end the podcast.
Yeah.
I always just like to ask guests what the best gig and the worst gig is. I think we've kind of covered. We've definitely covered the what. Have you got any other kind of like gigs that just stand out as like a bad one? That's just like
a real bad one that stands out. No, just some like. I think all comics have like heckles that they've heard that just cut to the bone.
You had some bad ones.
I remember I was doing a joke about Beyonce. I don't even remember the joke. I think it was it's a young guy's joke, but I remember like just offhandedly going, it's like I've never even had sex with a woman, just as like I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And this like auntie, like older middle-aged one was like, and you never will, just like out of the darkness.
God.
And it was that kind of response from the crowd when the crowd's like, ooh.
Yeah, shit, that cuts deep.
It's weird that one stayed in my, because I have had sex, mate. I have had sex.
You want that on record right now.
All right. So I have, weird lady in the crowd who heckled me 12 years ago.
Who's definitely listening. You're definitely listening.
Definitely listening. I did go out there and have sex. And it was cool. It was really cool.
Oh, that's good, man. And then what about, have you got any gigs that stand out as your favourite one you've ever done?
I've had some silly ones that have been favourites. I went to Guahan, as they call it there, as part of a festival of Pacific Island performers.
Cool.
It's like an Olympics for performers from the Pacific, and all the islands gather in one island for a few weeks and perform. I was the only stand-up comedian there. And they never really had political stand-up in Guam. Guam's a military territory.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a military base. That's all I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, so Guam, American Samoa, Puerto Rico. You may have seen the John Oliver episode on the American territories. So I'm doing stand-up there at the university. And it's like a few hundred people in there. And I do the hour show. I booked it done. And then they brought me back on for an encore. And then I did another hour of just politics, just like talking to the audience. What you tell me, man, what do you want to talk about? And we just went to town and people were like crying. And it turned out there was a local senator there who like came up and hugged me, and they just never.
Powerful stuff, man.
But that's the thing. I wouldn't, if I did what I did that night in a club over here, I don't know if you go, oh, wow, this is life-changing. I think you go, oh, yeah, that's a decent club set.
Yeah.
It's all relative, right? And there were some jokes I did for them, which are just for Pacific audience. Real family in jokes to the Pacific community about the colonization, But having a smoke outside, one of the people came up and said they're from the university and would I come do a lecture the next day? So I go, yeah, of course, man. It's daytime.
Yeah.
So I go and teach these kids about satire. And one of them puts their hand up and goes, oh, what do you do if you want to write a blog, but the government's watching the blog? And I go, well, I mean, we make a joke about it. And then they go, oh, no, actually. And I go, wait, who here, was there government surveillance on you guys because you're university students? And they're like, yeah. And I make a couple more jokes and then security comes in. And I'm like, oh, is everything okay? And they go, oh, yeah, we heard a loud banging sound coming from the room. They'd heard the clapping.
Yeah.
They'd heard the clapping from my jokes. So I make jokes about that.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, don't you, or real, because calm the students down, but they're calm. I'm
You're the one that's freaking out.
And then the representative who was with me took me out for a coffee afterwards. And I said, oh, can we go to a coffee a bit further away? I sat down in the cafe, my hands started shaking. I started crying, bro, because I was like so furious. I'd never experienced America like that.
Yeah, man.
But that gig was kind of amazing. And there was a gig in Wellington where we had a 125th anniversary of the city, and it was on the steps of Parliament, and there's 25,000 people, and I did not die.
Twice.
So I did not die. And I was performing with this iconic New Zealand performer called Dave Dobbin.
Okay.
He worked with Herbs, and he wrote like to bring it full circle. And he wrote kind of these songs which are national anthems to us. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know the Scottish version of that. It's the one guy who
Proclaimers.
writes the song. Yeah, right. So he's New Zealand Proclaimers.
Right.
I think Kiwis would agree with that. And our green room is like a parliamentary select committee room. And we're standing outside Parliament. I'm about to go on the stage, and then I'm going to introduce him. He's going to play greatest hits. I can just smell weed. And I look over, and this iconic New Zealand performer, like... on the Parliament.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you want a bit of a smoke before we start, James? I was like, thank you, Dave Dobbin. I actually just have to go perform in front of. I have an earpiece. I'm mic'd right now. I just have to go.
I shouldn't be saying this.
Perform for 25,000 people. I just want to be straight.
Yeah, that's okay. Not what you want to be doing before that size of crowd.
But that was a real fun one as well.
Brilliant, man. That's cool. There's two other parts. I always get a guest to suggest a guest that I've got to try and get on for a future episode. So someone that you love, someone that you find funny.
I mean, that's easy part for me because it's Laura Davis.
Laura Davis.
Who I loved enough or hated enough to put a ring on her finger. But also is generally a better comedian than me.
Perfect.
And I think is one of the funniest people on the planet.
Excellent. Laura Davis. Excellent. Love that. And then if there's any like films, books or albums you've like watched, listened to recently that you'd recommend that you'd want more people to hear about.
Albums. Look, we talked about Frightened Rabbit, and it's not a new album.
Yeah.
That final album of theirs, Painting of a Panic Attack, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's an amazing jam if you haven't got that. Book. What have I read recently?
I don't know. You can just do one, man. Don't worry. You can just do one.
Yes. Go find that Frightened Rabbit album. It's really good.
Love it.
Yeah, and there's no more coming. So,
that's the last one. That's the last one. James, man, thank you very much for coming, and this has been a blast.
Oh, thanks, brother.
I love this chat, man. Cheers, man. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Cheers, pal.